The R. Kelly video that everybody's talking about, made fun of it and said, yeah, Jay's hanging out. When Jay and them was in there doing Best of Both Worlds, you can't tell me Jay didn't see a 14-year-old girl come in the studio and sit on R. Kelly's lap. No.
Best of Both World tours come to a city near you soon. Definitely tour together with the show. We right now.
Best of Both Worlds t-shirts, drawers, condoms, everything. Burgers.
This evening, Jay-Z is being accused of a minor along with Diddy at a MTV VMAs after party back in 2000, according to documents obtained by Fox News Digital tonight.
I thought Foxy was like 16. That's all I'm saying.
What that? Did I sign her? It sounds like you.
All I'm saying is in this industry, when we live in these glass houses.
It seems like you got a question for Jay. Ask him. So when you say that Foxy was 16 when she got signed, why did you say that just now?
I guess I think homie has to answer some questions right now. If he doesn't, it just, again, it's gonna make people ask more questions. And me as a person that knew him, I'm very curious to know the stuff that they say about Aaliyah. I mean, I'm human. And when I look at things, like again, a lot of things are weird right now. So I'm reflecting a lot.
You've probably all heard by now that Jay-Z has been named by one of Diddy's accusers who claims she was just 13 when Jay-Z and Diddy attacked her. And this lawsuit has opened up a can of worms, with more disturbing stories about Jay-Z and young women coming to light. And get this. It turns out that Nas tried to warn us about this years ago. In a recently resurfaced interview with Wendy Williams, Nas dropped some serious hints about Jay-Z's sketchy behavior with young ones. But apparently, Jay's team worked overtime to keep this interview under wraps. However, the truth always comes out eventually, and fans are saying it's time for Jay-Z to face the music, just like his bestie Diddy.
You want to know why there's no vindication for me? Because for 4 years, I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. And the victim-making machine kept going on.
So Nas spilled some tea about Jay-Z hanging out with R. Kelly, and he suggested that Jay did something way worse than just ignore Kelly's crimes. But that's not all. There are now more stories coming out about Jay-Z's alleged involvement with multiple young women in the industry, and when you hear their ages, it's seriously sickening. And now this lost interview with Nas is shining a whole new light on Jay-Z's dark past. And let's just say, it's not a good look. So stay tuned and let's break this all down.
Jay is real creative, I'm real creative, and it's like, you want to get together and mix potions, you know what I'm saying, just to see what happens. That's how the lights were created, the piano. And
as Jay-Z's legal drama unfolds, folks are digging into his past and uncovering some messy accusations about inappropriate relationships with younger women. This has reignited old rumors about him allegedly being involved with teenage Aaliyah, Foxy Brown, and several other young women. People are even revisiting past lyrics and interviews, which some say hint at Jay-Z's questionable behavior. For example, in Nas' 2001 diss track Ether, he outright called Jay out, rapping, "Foxy got you hot 'cause you kept your face in her. What you think you getting girls now 'cause of your looks?" On top of that, the internet's been buzzing about Jay-Z's connections to known offenders like Diddy and R. Kelly, with many saying birds of a feather flock together. And while there's still no definite proof that Jay knew about Diddy's crimes, when it comes to R. Kelly, the story's different. Jay's former business partner Dame Dash claimed that even after Jay found out what R. Kelly did to Aaliyah, he didn't seem to care and still worked with him.
It already destroyed, but then years later they tried to do the tour.
The best of both.
Yeah, but it still didn't work out. But you notice I wasn't a part of any of that, and the karma happens. But the thing I didn't understand is I was like, I know I'm not with that. And because of the moral challenge and him choosing one way, I knew morally we weren't the same.
Back in 2004, Jay-Z and R. Kelly launched their Best of Both Worlds tour, and things got awkward fast. During an interview, a reporter hit Jay with a question about the kind of message they were sending to young people, and you could tell he got nervous trying to respond.
I believe in the kids and the messages that goes out to them. I'd like to know what message are you throwing through this album to those young people, because they're doing a lot of things now that they shouldn't be.
Well, we have songs on there, the streets and personal, and but even bigger than the music, I believe, is what we do, what we do for inner city youth, and, things like with Russell right now. This whole album, and the whole reason why we're here right now is just it's bigger than the music. Of course, the album we gonna entertain on the album. You got Honey, Shake Your Booty on the album. You know what I'm saying? We having fun. We're entertaining. We're entertainers. But what we do outside of that, like with the proceeds of the album, with the proceeds of the tour, with the proceeds of our previous tours, and what we continue to do is I would love for y'all to judge us on our actions other than the Fiesta remix,
But then things even weirder when R. Kelly chimed in.
Just as well as us, that this is much bigger than us. We didn't get together for the kids. You know what I'm saying? This is not Disneyland. This album is not Disneyland. So, it's up to the parents out there, you guys out there, to train your kids and bring them up the way you should. I'm doing mine like that, so you guys should do yours.
Wow. The nerve of R. Kelly blaming parents for how they raised their kids when he literally bought Aaliyah from her own parents? According to the surviving R. Kelly documentary, Aaliyah's parents knew he'd married her using a fake ID that said she was 18. But instead of pressing charges, the parents reportedly made a deal with Kelly. He promised them the rights to his first 3 albums, and they agreed not to take legal action. To top it off, they signed an NDA, which journalist Jim DeRogatis later uncovered. He described the document as harrowing because it laid out in detail just how much Aaliyah suffered at Kelly's hands. Now let's go back to that Best of Both Worlds tour. That whole thing was a total disaster from start to finish. And things really fell apart at Madison Square Garden when R. Kelly stopped mid-performance, claiming someone was threatening his life. But it didn't end there. According to Us Weekly, even after Kelly's team convinced him to return to the stage, chaos broke out. There was a heated altercation involving Jay-Z's close friend Tyron Ty Smith, R. Kelly, and Kelly's bodyguards. And it got so bad that Kelly ended up in an NYC hospital with injuries. And after that, Jay-Z officially cut him from the tour. R. Kelly later dropped a statement saying he was disappointed in Jay-Z for kicking him off the tour. But Jay wasn't having it and clapped back during an interview on Hot 97, calling Kelly insecure and accusing him of being jealous because the crowd was giving Jay more love. Now circling back to Aaliyah, Dame Dash once spilled that Jay-Z had a thing for her back in the day and put in some serious effort to win her over. But Aaliyah wasn't interested and apparently kept it moving. But then, on August 25, 2001, tragedy struck when Aaliyah died in a suspicious plane crash in the Bahamas. What's got people talking now is the timing of everything that followed her passing. See, shortly after Aaliyah's death, Jay-Z and Beyonce went public with their relationship, even posing together on the cover of Vanity Fair. Years later, when asked about that moment, Jay-Z downplayed it, saying, "We were just beginning to date each other." And that same year, Aaliyah passed away. Jay-Z and R. Kelly started working on their Best of Both Worlds album. But here's where it gets shady. When R. Kelly's crimes finally came to light and he was hit with serious charges, Jay-Z's PR team allegedly went into overdrive to distance him from Kelly. They supposedly worked hard to erase any connection, which is probably why no one really talks about Best of Both Worlds anymore. But not everyone's letting that history disappear. Jaguar Wright has been trying to tell people about this for years, and she suggested that the reason Jay-Z stuck by R. Kelly, even after what he did to Aaliyah, might be because Jay's guilty of similar things himself. And keep in mind that Jaguar said this long before all this legal drama with Diddy and Jay-Z exploded.
It's all Jay-Z.
It's all Jay-Z. And he was working with R. Kelly, and they were making so many records together. You know, they made all those records together. They both Aaliyah. They shared so much in common. You know? And then there was a falling out. And that's like it never happened. Whoever talks about Best of the Both Worlds, Best of Both Worlds, nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about this shit.
That nigga swept that smooth under the rug.
Why?
And then Jaguar also hinted that one of the reasons Jay-Z betrayed Dame Dash was because his ego couldn't handle the fact that Aaliyah genuinely liked Dame more than him.
I think everybody that knows Sean Carter knows that he will slump anyone in any relationship for $1. Look at how he did Dame. Like, I don't give a fuck if you wanted to get away from your homie, if you wanted to get away from your partner, but to do it the way he did it, it's malicious.
But it gets even more disturbing when you hear that Aaliyah allegedly wasn't the first young woman Jay-Z tried to take advantage of. Rumors have been swirling for decades about Jay being involved with rapper Foxy Brown when he was 27 and she was barely a teenager. Now Foxy has denied this, saying she and Jay were just close friends. But plenty of industry insiders have suggested there was way more to their relationship than Foxy is willing to admit. And then some sources even claimed that Jay-Z still pays Foxy to keep quiet about their past involvement.
I remember when Foxy and Jay-Z had
I'll Be. Yeah, that was a good one.
Okay, Foxy was the star of that. Jay-Z was standing in the corner, wringing his hands, talking about, okay, all right, what do I do next? And then, you know, this was allegedly a romantical thing. It's all right, I'll say alleged, but we know. Yeah, she hit it before Beyonce. Allegedly.
But here's where it gets really wild. An interview with Jay-Z's long-term rival Nas on Wendy Williams' radio show recently resurfaced, and Nas called out both Jay and R. Kelly, claiming that Jay witnessed Kelly's depraved actions and turned a blind eye.
That's not what I'm going to do. Yeah, I could have put up movies. I could have showed the R. Kelly video that everybody's talking about, made fun of it, and said, yo, Jay's hanging out. When Jay and them was in there doing Best of Both Worlds, you can't tell me Jay didn't see a 14-year-old girl come in the studio and sit on R. Kelly's lap. No. You can't tell me, you don't sit here and tell me that he ain't never seen a 14-year-old girl come in the vicinity.
Now, Wendy suggested that anyone working with R. Kelly back then must have seen some shady stuff and just chose to look the other way. But Nas took it even further. He wasn't buying the whole blind eye excuse and said if Jay-Z stuck around long enough to do a whole joint album with R. Kelly, he probably wasn't just ignoring it. Nas even suggested that Jay might have been indulging in the same behavior as Kelly.
My belief is that anybody who's worked with him and been in his cipher has seen it go down.
I've seen there's a little problem there. The brother needs help and I pray for him. But if I sit there and did an album about women with him, I'm definitely maybe indulging. He had to be indulging some 14-year-olds, man.
And here's where things take an even darker turn. Some industry insiders have floated the idea that Jay-Z might have played a role in Aaliyah's tragic death. Remember when Diddy's close friend Mary J. Blige once called Aaliyah's death a spiritual murder? That's a pretty strange way to describe what was officially labeled as a plane accident.
I just know that was a murder. You know what I'm saying? That was a spiritual murder, whether people know it or not. Because God don't kill people. You know what I'm saying? Whether people know it or not. And I could go deep, but a lot of people I would have to really bring proof. You know what I'm saying? For what I learned. And she just was cut down in the prime of her life. And it's so unfair. And it wasn't time. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't, I believe it wasn't her time to go because from what I know, it ain't supposed to go down like that. And just simple obedience, like, you know, your gut always won you. That your gut never lies to you. And something like luggage and clothes and jewelry and all this madness that we worship is called false idols. We need to really look at the bigger picture right now.
And then Jaguar Wright recently came forward again, this time accusing Jay-Z of getting Hype Williams involved in pushing Aaliyah to get on that doomed plane. But Jaguar didn't stop there. She also called out Aaliyah's choreographer Fatima Robinson, who was reportedly there when the crash happened. By the way, both Fatima and Hype took a different plane the very next day after Aaliyah's plane crash, so it makes you wonder why they stayed behind.
Maybe Aaliyah's family will be held accountable for what they turned their heads to. And maybe Hype Williams will be charged for conspiracy to commit murder. It's time to talk, Hype. It's time for the public to ask you why Aaliyah couldn't get on Lenny Kravitz's plane. And you had to put her on that clown car plane. It is time for Aaliyah Dana Houghton's death to be properly investigated. It's time for Fatima Robinson to speak up about what she heard on that phone. It's time for somebody to be honest about who gave Aaliyah the pills that knocked her out before she was carried onto a plane she didn't want to be on. It's time for the other dancers who knew she was terrified to get on that plane to speak up. And it's time for Hype Williams to be officially questioned about why he made her get on that plane and why they forced her to do it unconscious.
And then Jaguar again claimed Jay-Z wanted to punish Aaliyah for choosing Dame over him and to help him level up with Beyonce. She also brought up Mary J. Blige calling Aaliyah's death a spiritual murder and said it all ties to what we're seeing now in the news about Jay-Z and Diddy.
I want you to think about this. Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th and Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who is a victim of Sean Carter. Mary J. Blige, who is a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone.
But the whole Aaliyah situation is just one part of a bigger pattern of Jay-Z's questionable relationships with younger women. And with this new lawsuit making headlines, fans are digging into Jay-Z's history of making moves on girls much younger than him. Take singer Teaira Marie, for example. She was signed to Def Jam at just 16, the same time as Rihanna. Teaira was discovered by L.A. Reid, and in his memoir, Reid even mentioned that the label originally thought Teaira would be the bigger star. But then Beyonce stepped in and told them to forget about Teaira and focus on Rihanna instead. L.A. Reid wrote, "We had an in-house company showcase, and Beyonce happened to be there with Jay-Z, Teaira Mari, Rihanna, a 4-girl group called Black Butterfly, and Nayo performed. At the label, we thought Teaira Marie would be the big star. We spent more time on her, did more work on her, and paid more attention to her. A bell went off for me, however, when, after the showcase, Beyonce came up to me and said, 'That Rihanna girl, she's a beast.'" Now here's where it gets sketchy. There's this viral blind item going around saying that Beyonce allegedly found out about Jay-Z getting involved with young Teaira Marie. The item also claims that L.A. Reid had his way with Teaira right after discovering her. And by the way, Reid is 31 years older than her. The blind also alleges that Teaira was basically sold to Ray J, who was known for scouting and controlling young female artists in Hollywood. And apparently, it was Ray J who brought Teaira to Jay-Z's attention. From there, things apparently went downhill fast for Teaira, leading to her being blacklisted by the whole industry. It's a messy situation all around.
I read a very disturbing blind item last week about a young artist who was abused, sold, and blacklisted from the music industry. The artist was allegedly Teaira Marie, who was signed to Jay-Z's record label when she was 16 years old, and she was on Love and Hip Hop, and then she just disappeared. So I'm going to reread this blind item with the new names in place, and let's see if this makes more sense. In the wake of the passing of Aaliyah, certain record producers were looking for someone else who could step into her shoes in more ways than one. As I have told you before, Aaliyah was SA'd as a minor by several producers and was treated like a piece of meat to be bought and sold by different producers up until the time that she passed away. A couple of years after she passed away, a fairly large record producer started making some calls about a singer he had working out of his studio. She was 15 and eager, and soon different label heads were scouting her. And this is allegedly Teaira Marie. When they heard her voice and then saw how she looked, they started scouting her even harder. She was sleeping with one of the producers, the one who made the initial calls. And I don't know who this is, you guys can take a guess. Soon, she was sold to this pseudo corn star and celebrity sibling. Can also take a guess at that one. He loves controlling vulnerable women. It is his specialty. Anyway, he started controlling the career of this singer. He brought her to the attention of this A+ list rapper and mogul, allegedly Jay-Z. And he signed her to a deal. By the time all of the ink was dry, she was just shy of being legal. But that didn't stop the mogul. He liked to sample the new talent. He was sampling her on a fairly regular basis, but he was also involved with the current A+ list singer who was in his face every day. And this could allegedly be Beyonce. Our brand new signee did fairly well. Her first record sold a decent number of copies and she had some quality singles. The thing is though, that corn star in charge of her career was feuding with the mogul and told the mogul he would not be allowed to hook up with the singer again. I assume he thought the mogul would think she was something special. Apparently not as special as the current A+ lister, because the new signee was dropped and the word was put out on the street. No record deals for her from any label. When someone ignored the edict, they were paid a visit. If the visits were ignored, then other steps were taken. This was a total lockdown of a career that lasted almost a decade. The corn star cost his client her singing career, but he didn't care because he was with so many different women who were all earning for him that she was just a drop in the bucket. Lately, the singer has come back into the spotlight and apparently she is now allowed to record and is starting to make a name for herself again. And again, this is allegedly Tierra Marie, Jay-Z, and Beyonce. What do you guys think?
Now let's take it back to 2005. Just after turning 16, Tierra Marie scored her big break when Jay-Z signed her to Def Jam. Her debut album, Rockefeller Records Presents Tierra Marie, dropped that August and made a serious splash. It hit number 5 on the Billboard 200 and landed at number 2 on the top R&B hip-hop albums chart. But then, fast forward to 2006, when Tierra and Ray J started dating and things took a weird turn. Even though her debut album was doing well, Jay-Z made the surprising decision to drop Tierra from the label. It didn't make sense, especially since she was still riding high from her album's success. It gets even stranger when you find out she was already working on her second album when all production suddenly stopped. In fact, just before her high school graduation, Tierra got the shocking call that they were cutting ties with her. And to top it all off, Tierra said she never heard from Jay-Z again after that.
I'm no longer on the label because, well, to be honest with you, I don't know why I'm no longer on the label. But I know that I just took some time off to finish school or whatnot. And then, you know, in the midst of that, I was in Detroit and I just got a phone call. Like, I think I was getting ready for prom or something. And they were like, you know, we're going to be letting you go. You're young. You have a bright future ahead of you. You know, the womp talk. And that's how it happened. I was shocked. I was sad because Jay didn't call me himself, you know, Jay Brown called me. And I was, you know, confused because I didn't know why.
And get this, according to Tierra, Jay-Z first acted like a father figure to her, which, by the way, is the exact same thing Cassie said about Diddy in her lawsuit.
He was like a father figure at the time, but right now, I can't say that because, you know, I don't talk to him anymore. And he didn't even call me and tell me bye-bye, so, you know.
What's also disturbing is that after being dropped, Tierra struggled with substance use and depression, and it really seemed like she went through some trauma during her time at Def Jam. But Tierra's story isn't the only one. Jay-Z has been accused of allegedly taking advantage of, using, and discarding many other young women in the industry. And don't forget that Jay-Z reportedly met his wife before she was 18. Jay-Z told Charlie Rose in a 2007 interview that he met Beyonce 10 years ago. So that means they actually met in 1997 when Beyonce was 16 and Jay was already 28.
But you know,
how long have you known her?
Wow, a long time.
How long? 10 years?
However long she's been recording. That's when I met her.
Well, don't you remember how long it was?
Yeah, when I met her. I mean,
was it 5 years ago? Was it?
I met her 10 years ago.
But did you say to yourself at that time, "Wow"?
That's a fantastic talent.
Was that what you said?
Yeah.
And then there are even rumors that Jay was involved with young Rihanna when she was first signed to his label. Back in 2005, 16-year-old Rihanna auditioned for Jay-Z in New York, and he was so impressed that he signed her right then and there. The meeting went on until the early morning, and Rihanna later revealed that Jay-Z joked about throwing her out of a 29th floor window unless she signed the contract.
But then he said something about a window and a door. Oh, then he said, he did it homework. I did a lot of homework on you, this lady. He said, there are two ways to leave here, either through the door with the deal sign or through this window, and we're on the 29th floor. So you was like, where's the pen? Where's the paper? I'm signing. Yeah.
Now, even if Jay-Z was just joking, why would a grown man make comments like that to someone young enough to be his daughter? And keep in mind that Rihanna was there alone, without her parents, and Jay-Z was in a position of power. He literally held her career in his hands and was threatening to destroy her dreams unless she signed the contract. But wait, there's more. We can't skip over that whole situation with Jay-Z's alleged son, Rymir Satterthwaite, because word on the street is that the real reason Jay refused to take a paternity test is because Rymir's mother, Wanda, was allegedly not a legal adult when Jay got her pregnant. Rymir has been trying for years to prove that Jay-Z is his father, but Jay has always refused to take the paternity test. Jay-Z also never publicly addressed Rymir's claims, and even though multiple media outlets have reached out to Jay's legal team, they've never gotten a response. But things took a really disturbing turn when Rymir, along with his paralegal and godmother Lily Coley, appeared on the Hip Hop News Uncensored podcast and revealed that Rymir was actually shot after filing charges against Jay-Z.
Rymir was shot at somewhere in September. He was in a parking lot with other people near where he's at living now, and out of all the cars there, his was the only one shot up. So we believe that was a nexus or a connection, I believe, between the case and what's going on, because it was around the time.
Rymir's godmother also mentioned that around the time Rymir filed his lawsuit, strangers started showing up at her door trying to intimidate her. She then went on to say that this case is about more than just Jay-Z. Basically, she's trying to make a bigger change by pushing for new laws that would stop the rich and powerful from abusing the legal system. And she also pointed out that in New Jersey, where Rymir lives, the law is clear about what happens if someone refuses to take a paternity test.
In addition to that, we've had people come to my home in the past, driving on the grass. We have people knocking on the door at 4 o'clock in the morning. We've been through all of it, mostly around the filing time. So this is a bigger picture than this. We want to try to make a difference with the Pro Se Act or the Legal Abuse Act, bringing new legislation and trying to sit down at the table with the lawmakers to make a difference. In addition to the fact, because, like you said before, Mr. Carter might not never do anything, and I'm sure he probably won't, but it ain't about him. This is about the system allowing things to happen that were very agreed and put our lives at stake in some regards. So I just wanted to say that that's what another reason why we were still going to the criminal stuff for the second time. This time the prosecutor's office locally did get involved, but everything is slow moving and things are happening, and it's corruption going on. But at the end of the day, the law says in New Jersey that if the person who resists to take the test is presumed the father, that's what the law says. Here in New Jersey, anybody who don't want to do it and go away from doing it or prevents from doing it is presumed the father. So right now, he's presumed the father. He's not even alleged.
However, now that we're hearing the real reason Jay-Z is allegedly trying to silence Rymir might be because of his mother's age when she had a relationship with him, and with everything coming out about Jay-Z, fans are starting to put the pieces together and are saying it's about time we take a closer look at his history with young women. A lot of people are also giving props to Nas for seeing through Jay-Z while the rest of the industry kept worshiping him and buying into that black excellence narrative that Jay-Z and Diddy used as a cover for years. But what do you think about all these disturbing stories coming out about Jay-Z and his alleged involvement with younger women? Are we about to see Jay-Z's downfall like we did with his friend Diddy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and don't miss out on this next video.